Hi, I'm Carden Calder. I'm the Managing Director of Blue Chip Communication, and I'm here with Jackie Maddock, who's our Head of Media.
Today we want to discuss the next strategy in our 9 strategies to fight a perceptual crisis or issues management problem in financial services. The strategy we want to talk to you about today is the concept of multiple stories and multiple storytelling. So, Carden, let's start with the basics.
Yep.
You've had 20 years in-house in corporate affairs and obviously as the founder of Blue Chip. What does multiple stories mean and what is it?
It's simply about telling a broader range of stories than the one that might be the centre of the issue or the crisis. Almost every business has a range of good news, not just good news, but actually interesting facts, business as usual stories that their stakeholders want to hear. And sometimes in a crisis, all the resources from PR, marketing, communication point of view, understandably get diverted to managing the issue. And in actual fact, that can cause a broader range of stakeholders to feel like you've kind of abandoned them in the middle of this issue that you're dealing with. And it's the wrong thing to do. If you take a broader view, you would be looking at the business as usual, good news or statements of fact type of stories that your stakeholders want to hear from you in order to keep having a productive relationship.
Absolutely. So instead of focusing on what's on the front page of the paper, realising that you're talking to multiple audiences on multiple fronts about multiple stories. And as you say, there are usually good stories to tell to multiple audiences. So some of the tactics involved, what would you describe them as?
Look, the ideal situation is that you've actually built a reservoir of goodwill as an organisation because you have multiple channels speaking to multiple audiences with multiple stories over time.
Yep.
But even if you find yourself in the middle of a perceptual crisis and you haven't done that, it's worth taking a step back, taking a broad view, developing your peripheral vision a little bit, and thinking about all of the stakeholders involved in the issue and beyond the issue, and about the kinds of information they want to hear from you and the kind of engagement they want from you. Holding your perhaps instant reactivity, which is don't even think about that, but actually getting back and saying, well, what else should we be talking about to these people? And as you do that, you build confidence in your position as an organisation that yes, you're managing the issue, but you haven't dropped the bundle on the rest of the business or the rest of your stakeholder relationships.
And I'm guessing it can be often difficult for communications people when they're finding something on the front page of the paper, not to drop everything or to hold their nerve.
Right.
What would your advice be to them in this sort of situation?
Look, they're often really high-stress situations.
Yeah.
If the chairman and the board are exceedingly concerned about a very substantial criticism of the company and the CEO and the leadership team and the corporate affairs and marketing folk are all absorbed in managing that, that's understandable, but there's also a role there to take a beat, step back and actually look broadly at the situation and really do a thorough stakeholder analysis, really think quite deeply about all of the commercial relationships the organisation has and look very deliberately and specifically for opportunities to tell good news stories or to tell a deeper story about the business to stakeholders. Plenty of stakeholders want those relationships to continue and can compartmentalise in their own minds the difference between an issue that you might be managing at a corporate level and the reality of their day-to-day experience with you. So, for example, if we talk about an insurance company, let's say you're a general insurer, and I have worked in this situation where in many organisations where, say, you've got a corporate scandal going on, but the BAU of what you do, the business as usual, is that you are out there paying claims and helping people recover from loss, then those stories need to keep getting told in the midst of a crisis, and arguably you need to dial them up so that people get a balanced view of who you are as a corporate, who you are as a leadership team, and the real good that you're doing. It's too easy for everything to be focused on the negative. Media is about negative. So media, by definition, reports bad news. Our job now, as self-publishing organisations, is to tell a more balanced story than that, which typically you can do through your own channels, and you can also do it in some sectors of media, even when a crisis is running.
Absolutely. Okay, so I should probably ask you, can you tell me about times when you've seen this done particularly well? I won't ask you to name any names, but in those instances, has your advice been followed and has it been effective?
Our advice is not always followed for all sorts of reasons, but I think one of the most successful examples of this that we've executed as a firm was an organisation that we entered after they'd had a really large scandal. Scandal as in a media scandal with some allegations of substantial business issues underneath that. But the very deliberate strategy that we used was to say, look, as part of your reputation rebuild, There are lots of stories inside the business which many of your stakeholders, clients, advisors, trade media, personal finance media would like to hear more about. And if we start to tell those stories, we will balance up the public narrative about your brand, which is exactly what happened.
Great. All right, so I guess we've got run through the critical success factors for the multiple stories strategy. So what would you name them as?
Right, so I think it's to be aware that you have control over your own destiny and to plan accordingly. So develop your peripheral vision, think deeply about the real interests that stakeholders have in your organisation and what it's doing. Secondly, go looking for stories to tell and people to tell them. You know, most organisations have exceptional talent inside them and interesting people who can tell a story about the business. And third, think really carefully about your distribution strategy. You know, if you want to be portrayed accurately as an organisation, then take control of your reputation, take control of the channels, and make sure that you have multiple stories to multiple audiences through multiple channels.
Great. Thanks so much for listening today. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe at bluechipcommunication.com.au. And I think there's a box on the
We always stumble over this website, this URL call out. But yes, as you're watching us, there should be somewhere near the right-hand side of this screen a form where you can put in your email address. You can have these video blogs delivered direct to your inbox. They're all very short. Or you can get the written version sent to inbox or subscribe to our other content. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.